I like to inspire kids.
Yeah, you are. Your speech was incredibly inspiring. It really touched a lot of orang Indonesia, including myself.
If you want your horse to be a good horse,
Yeah.
then let the horse be the horse. I've spent my entire life basically taking care of animals. Probably this is a call from God.
Oh my goodness.
So I went there at night, bring my student ID, and apparently it was a student bar.
You're like, because you know what, isn't for me as a Chindo, someone with like secret eyes, people actually think that I'm an outsider because I'm not brown.
I'm an Indonesian who had a chance to study abroad with scholarships. I believe that with education, we can bring Indonesia forward. As a kid, I grew up looking after animals, horses, ponies, and cattle. I did not know whether I would end up having a PhD someday later in my life. I did not know how to speak English. But today is the proof that hard work and perseverance results in something better and better, results in something that you would never imagine in your life. Thank you so much.
I didn't know that there's this Indonesian man who studied a PhD and a master's degree in equine science. Kita udah tahu di Indonesia hanya ada 3 atau 4 orang yang berani belajar 100% tentang kuda. And now, today, kita bisa menemu someone very cool who's from Lombok, Indonesia, and he studied his last 10 years on horses, his master's and his PhD degree. So, yeah, please welcome Ahmad Munjizun to the podcast or video today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so why horses? Why do you love horses?
Well, I think my life has been shaped particularly by my childhood experience. As I grew up in Lombok, my dad has had ponies and sometimes horses. So those are the ones that I took care of my brothers. So apart from going to school, coming back from school, the only thing that I had to do is to make sure that the horses are fed and also got their water to drink. If not, then you're gonna get yelled on.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's very interesting to know that you've actually been surrounded by horses ever since you were young, yeah. And yeah, I mean, like the way we met also is like also very cool. I mean, like I heard about you from my friend Rani, who I think you guys connected on LinkedIn, which is so random.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like, you know, how fate always brings the coolest kind of people together, and I think it's so lucky that we're able to connect with you there. But yeah, thanks for being here today.
It's an honor for me.
Yeah, this is the first time we're meeting in person.
Apparently.
Yes. I mean, we met online a couple weeks ago, but then I'm very, very, very excited to have you here today. So
am I.
Thank you. Before we discuss your journey in the equine science bit, we're gonna do a little bit of flashback, ya. Jadi, Jizun kan lahir di Lombok.
Yeah.
Hidup dengan kuda, hidup dengan sapi. You probably played in the beach, in the paddy fields maybe, in Lombok. Bisa nggak ceritain sedikit mengenai kehidupan Jizun back in Lombok? Like, what did the young Jizun do back then?
Okay. So sebenarnya it started when I was in elementary school. I was just joining my eldest and my older brother, taking care of the horses. Sometimes they and their friends who were actually in charge when they were still there to take care of the animals. The animals were ponies and the cattle. And sometimes, some of the days in the week, they would bring the ponies to either to the lake nearby and or to one of the rivers over there.
Wow.
And they would just like swim the horses. We call it like, make them burn them, something like that. And then me and my brothers would just join them, and we didn't know that someday it was us who's gonna be in charge, So once my older brothers gone to university, and I was basically taking in charge.
Yeah.
And the people who were initially in charge for the animals just moved away, probably because they wanted to have their own life, getting married or something like that. And basically, my two brothers and I, these two brothers 2 years younger than me, so three of us were the ones that were basically in charge with all the things about the animals. Well, the race, the pony racing started popping in again when I went to the middle school.
Ah, see.
And as a middle school student, there was a horse race, and then we started trying to prepare ponies, and that was mostly what we were focusing on with the horses. Most of the time we lost, but we had some winning.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's really cool. How many ponies did you have back then with your family, or the ones that you took care of anyway?
It varies from. There used to be 5, but sometimes there was one point in time there were 18 ponies.
In your family.
Yeah, because
Your family.
Yeah, because my dad is so crazy about ponies, which is why I don't like people talking about new ponies or incoming ponies in front of my dad, because my dad is gonna get curious.
Oh my gosh.
And then let's get this one, and I'll be like, Dad, come on, we don't have any space, we don't have any resources, we don't have any people to take care of this pony.
Take care of it.
And but this is a new one, we're gonna make money out of this. But guess what? Once he bought the horses, the pony, let's say we try to raise him or train him for racing, and then if there is some like good development, progress, we're supposed to sell them.
Yes.
But guess what? He would start loving them more.
Oh my god.
And then, Dad, we should sell this, and then until they got back to the initial condition where they were sold.
Jadi intinya you can say your love for horses itu juga dari your dad dong.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Jadi it's just like went down. Your brothers and sisters juga suka kuda banget, or no?
Yeah. I think only my brothers. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. My sisters, they don't work with the horses.
Okay.
Yeah, they're inside in the kitchen.
So dari orang lulusan, peternakan Indonesia, like peternakan degree, especially in Indonesia, seperti animal science and things like that. Kan biasanya orang yang graduate from them, they study mostly on like cattle and ayam, chicken, karena kan we need to feed our country,
Yeah.
And you can count with your fingers lah berapa orang yang beneran study 100% tentang horses ya. Including myself included juga ya.
Yeah.
And then yourself, I think I only know like 2 or 3 people in the whole of Indonesia yang beneran dedicate 100% hidup mereka and they're studying life to horses nih.
Yeah.
So so why did you end up choosing something tentang equine science, kalau aku boleh nanya?
Well, it's a long story, I think you would agree the fact that nobody knows what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
By the time I graduated from my high school, I wanted to be a math teacher.
A math teacher?
Math teacher. Because I used to present my schools for math Olympiads or something like that.
Yeah.
But then it didn't work out because in that time, I had 2 options. I was already accepted at the Faculty of Animal Science at the University of Mataram.
Oh, Mataram, yeah.
But then there was also something that I applied for, which is math in the Teacher Training and Education Department.
Wow.
University of Mataram as well. But then I wasn't accepted over there. With my condition, I actually had an experience where I got injured. I stepped on a nail in a kettle housing.
Oh no.
So during that period of time, I was still suffering from that injury. So I just decided to maybe animal science is my destiny.
Okay.
And then I was kind of relate that thing to my previous experience. I was like, okay, I've spent my entire life basically taking care of animals. So why not? Probably this is a call from God and something like that. Initially, I still wanted to move out from the Faculty of Animal Science to the Teacher Training and Education. But then, because in one of my first days, there was a seminar, a lecture from one of the professors over there, and he actually told us his journey as a person coming from a village in Sumbawa, but he ended up being a PhD from the University of Queensland, Australia.
Wow.
So from that moment, first I canceled my plan to move out. So I keep being in the Faculty of Animal Science. Second, I had a dream to study at the University of Queensland. So it was 2009.
That's 2009.
Yeah, basically with a lot of, with all the processes, I ended up achieving that dream in 2016.
So you can say your original dream was to actually go to university in Queensland.
Once I decided to stick with the animal science.
When you stopped with
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw you got a LPDP, is that right?
Yeah.
Congrats on that. Not a lot of people
Thank you so
are
much.
able to get the LPDP. And it's so cool. And you actually got that full for an animal science, yeah?
Yeah.
100%. And you also juga fokus tentang kuda in that degree atau?
Yeah. So there was also a story behind that. I never actually decided before to just stick in particularly in equine science.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was kind of fond of equine science, horses.
Yeah.
I did not know that equine science exists
Yeah,
at the university things.
Me too.
So by the time I graduated from my bachelor, so I got my bachelor's degree, I decided to apply for LPDP scholarship. Then still though, I wanted to do a master's degree on something else. You know what?
What?
Human resource management.
What? HRM? What? That's just so jomplang banget.
I know, it's
From HR to horses or animals.
and that's probably because I was kind of influenced by the things that we did. One of my friends became a motivational speaker, and then he was making, something called Sony Training Center, and I was involved over there. So both of us were actually Mawapres at Gondram.
Wow.
And then I learned a lot from him, and then we did a lot of motivational seminars and stuff like that. So realizing that I had a potential to do that stuff, that motivated me to study HRM, which also didn't work out.
I know, clearly. I mean, there's these two things.
And the thing was funny because when I got interviewed by LPDP, I couldn't basically defend my plan because I was bombarded with questions about economy, and I couldn't answer it. And then I kind of attached a lot of the things I said in the interview, saying that if I were to stick with animal science, I would choose University of Queensland instead of University of Melbourne, the one that I chose when I applied. And then, in the end of the conversation, the interview, one of them asked me, would you still stick with animal science? I said yes. And then, dalam SK-nya gitu, it's Ahmad Munjizun, University of Queensland, Animal Science.
There you have it.
Yeah. Then, when I got animal science at University of Queensland, you got three basically majors over there.
Yeah.
Whether you take animal nutrition, equine science, or wildlife. So that's why I chose equine science. That was the one that stand out to me. Okay, this is probably something really interesting. But then also I asked some advice from a number of my former professors at the University of Mataram. Among many, only one actually that supported my plan to stick in equine science. Mainly because of the fact that horses are not of a biggest commodity here in Indonesia. But then the one that supported the idea was the one that inspired me to study at the University of Queensland. He said that if you are in a quiet place, you'll be a king. that's why
Yeah, that's right.
I'll
That's
make
correct.
equine
Yeah,
science.
I would think so too. Karena kan emang, yeah, and that's what happened to me as well. Tadinya aku mau jadi dokter hewan kuda because that was like the only way I could think of
Yeah.
to work with horses di Indo. And then in the UK I did a lot of work experience di banyak klinik, hospitals, gitu-gituan lah. And I found out that there are actually schools with like degrees fully dedicated to horses.
Yeah.
I think also in the US there's a couple. I think in Australia juga ada,
Yeah.
and also in the UK. And then I was like, would I want to study many animals or just horses? And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with horses because that's what I love. Aku juga bisa lihat itu in like your situation as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm a strong believer of how things are. If it's meant for you, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
the path is gonna lead. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
go on that way of life because it's meant
Yeah.
for you, kind of thing. So
That's
I think that happened for you juga. Yeah, all of
Yeah,
these happenings throughout your
Yeah.
life, young people give you options or their opportunities, tapi it always led you back to horses. And I think
Yeah.
itu keren banget because it's meant to be, and like you're such a horseman, you love horses, and I think if we love something that much and we're so passionate, it really shows to people, and without
Yeah.
even without us telling them,
Yeah.
they can already see it, and they'll be like, yep, that's the way for you to go. So if I can ask, so now you're Dr. Ahmad Munjizan, like what's your dream? Like, do you know like what you're gonna do, or what has been your dream since doing your master's degree tentang kuda, terus PhD tentang kuda juga, like?
Well, I would divide my dreams into two.
Okay.
The first is my dream about equine world
Okay.
in Indonesia.
Uh-huh.
The second is my dream for Indonesia as a whole. For the equine world, I hope and I dream that someday I could see the things about horses here, the ones that we see, like what it is in America and what it is in the UK. Companion animals, like you don't
I agree.
you don't feed them to produce their meat.
Correct.
That's basically my personal opinion or dream.
Yeah.
But in general, it's all about the animal welfare, the equine welfare of the horses themselves. And also another one is that I hope that I can develop something that's called equine tourism.
Oh, equine tourism.
Yeah, because if you want to do more research about horses, but then it has to be equal with the opportunity, which is the business or the market itself.
That's right.
If the market is not big enough, then the demand for the research isn't as
Yes.
big as.
That's correct. Yeah, I'm just gonna tie it in. Karena kan same that's with the racing industry, right?
Yeah,
Jadi
yeah.
dunia pacu seluruh dunia kan it basically funds all the research and the veterinary medicine development di dunia kuda sekarang as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Without the racehorse industry,
Yeah.
secara keseluruhan,
That's
tanpa thoroughbreds,
Betul.
kita nggak akan ada equestrian sports, kita nggak akan ada sports medicine untuk kuda. Now, like is this or like all the advances in like PRP medication or all the hospitals tanpa
Yeah.
racing. You're correct. Yeah, I like the way you link that.
Yeah.
Tapi yeah, that's very true. Kita emang perlu that equine tourism bit, yeah, to help support
Yeah.
with raising the status of horses di Indonesia, yeah.
Yeah.
Kehidupan kuliah when you were in Australia and the US. Okay, jadi kan kamu nih dari Lombok nih, and then to move all of a sudden ke Australia, what was that like? Or the US, moving from Australia to the US? I mean, like you just basically displaced yourself from like two completely different cultural places. Like,
Yeah.
how was it like?
I think it was a big change in terms of the things that you see in front of you. The people are different, the culture are different. But the things that I really like about both Australia and America is the academic environment, where if you see when you go to the student center, you're gonna see a lot of students having their discussion, and some of them are having taking their notes because those are the views that I really miss most. And also I think multicultural experiences are the ones that always stand out in my mind. I met friends with students from many different backgrounds, religiously and culturally, for example. And when I was in Australia, I was particularly close, mostly with international students. Meanwhile, when I was in America, I made friends mostly with
Local.
with locals, even though I also had a number of international friends. So, speaking about making friends with them in America, some of them who were really liberal,
Oh yeah, of course.
religious, Muslim and Christians.
Mhm.
I even joined some of their ceremonies, for example, the one who are, what do you call them, like missionaries?
Oh, missionaries. Yeah.
Missionaries, yeah. Like I joined their meetings and such.
Wow. That's so cool.
So it was such really a memorable experience. Talking about how I adapt, I think I'm a person who's kind of really easy to adapt with new environment. I'm easygoing, and I think wherever I am, it's never hard for me to make friends or to connect with people with whatever culture. Even when I was in Australia, of course, the very first people that you're gonna get connected to are the Indonesians who are already there, right?
Yes.
So there is this professor from the University of Mataram who had a conference just before I went to the University of Queensland. So he was there, and he told the Indonesian students who were there, saying that Jesus is gonna come, and you can ask him to do khutbah at the mosque.
Wow.
And then by the time I went there, so the very first week I was there, they asked me to do khutbah over there.
The first week you went
Yeah.
to the US, that's like,
In Australia, yeah,
wow, that's so cool. This is in Australia.
in Australia.
Ito kaya banget loh. Like, straight into the deep end. Here's just a run.
Well, I think that's also something really special to me, because not only did I improve my public speaking skills, but also I learned how to connect with the locals.
Yeah.
And the fact that they trusted me as well.
Yeah.
I was 24.
Yeah, clearly.
the time.
you were young back then.
So there was one thing.
Wow. Yeah, that's very, very cool.
I got some questions about how racist people are over there.
Yeah, how is it? Yeah, the Australia.
Actually, personally, I never had an experience of having racist treatment
Okay.
or being racist over.
Uh-huh.
But actually, every time I got that kind of question, I would say it back to the person who asked that. Actually, we are the ones who have to look back at ourselves. Even though there is some racism going on in the social media about America or Australia, but actually the ones that I consider racist are myself and my people in Indonesia. Because in America or in Australia, if you look at Asian face, it doesn't mean that he or she isn't an American. If you look at a white person, doesn't mean that he or she is an American or an Australian. But in Indonesia, if you see a bully, and that means definitely
From here.
yeah. So what does that mean?
Yeah, true. That must have been eye-opening for you. Tapi in Lombok kan banyak banget tourists ya. I've flown to Lombok because I actually volunteered in the Gili Islands. So there's a lot of Chidomo horses, right, in the Gili. So I was very lucky enough to help some Australian vets. Yeah, but I mean, bagaimana kesannya, like you living alone in Australia and the US versus living back home? Karena aku dengar, I read you are keempat dari 22 bersaudara, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a massive family.
Yeah,
What's
it's a huge family. So I have, I call mom to four different moms.
4.
Yeah, and then they live all together in the same house.
No beef? No, like rifts or anything like that?
Yeah, I think so far so good.
Wow, that's impressive.
And the fact that I grew up also with my brothers and sisters all together in the same house, that also strengthens the bond between us. So we're pretty close with each other, thankfully.
Wow. Your house must be so big. 22 plus the
Well, I mean, it's enough. But some of us already moved out, like 5, 6. Now 6 of us already got married. Well, I am not married yet, so.
Just single guy.
I mean, I wish.
This guy easygoing, chilled, smart, and he's a doctor tentang kuda. I mean, but okay.
I'm not married yet, so.
But okay. What was your favorite moment in like doing university in Queensland and in the US? Tell me 2 different things that was like your favorite thing. Because I know when I was in the UK, I loved my time there. Soalnya aku setiap hari lihat kuda. Aku bisa sama kuda. I studied tentang horses. Jadi like 24/7, I was with horses gitu. That was my most favorite thing about being in the UK. Yeah. How about yours? Dari Queensland atau the US? Any memorable experiences?
Oh, well, it's probably hard to decide which one particular the thing that
Of course.
Yeah, I would say. But among those things are being an international student. Definitely is already special to me. So I remember the first day I went there. There was that student that I got connected to on Facebook before I went there. So by the time I arrived there, she and her friends basically welcomed me as a new student. And they told me that there's going to be something tonight.
Oh.
They asked me to come to a certain spot in the campus, asking me to bring my ID. And I thought that the ID that they meant was a student ID.
Oh my goodness.
So I went there at night, bring my student ID, and apparently it was a student bar.
This is in Australia.
It was in Australia.
First experience.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in Australia, they have most of the campuses, they have student bar, because I think the age for for drink is
21. No.
No, it's 18.
Oh, it's only like the UK. It's only in the US, isn't it? Yung 21.
Yeah.
God,
Which is
UK
why I don't
was
have.
18.
Yeah, which is why they don't have student bar over there. But I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
so I went there. I brought my student ID, and they didn't accept it.
Really?
Yeah. So they ended up giving me purple instead of orange one.
What does that mean? Call it purple.
So purple is underage.
But you're not underage. You're 24, then.
Yeah, I was 24, but because I didn't have my ID, so I couldn't prove the fact that I was old enough. So I went in with that purple thing. I just pretended that I was 17 that time. Everybody believed that.
Oh, wow. That's so funny.
So,
That's so funny.
so that was the first day in Australia.
So yeah, in the US, probably you enjoyed your time there juga ya palingnya. I heard you also interned there as well, yeah?
Yeah.
In Kentucky, yeah.
Yeah.
How long did you magang is it a racing stable as well?
No, it's a breeding stable.
Oh, it's a breeding stable.
Yeah.
So for thoroughbreds.
For thoroughbreds, yeah.
Wow. Were you able to see any famous stallions?
Yeah, so I visited American Pharoah. I saw Justify.
Wow.
And a number of others. Uncle Mo, I think.
You saw Justify and American Pharoah. That's like that's like a dream, guys.
Yeah.
I've met Dubawi. I've met Frankel.
Oh
Also another
yeah. So Frankel is this manager of the farm I interned at. One of his favorite stallions is Frankel.
Oh really?
So from that time, like I was kind of curious. Like I was wondering.
Wow.
Frankel was.
You've seen American Pharoah. That's so cool. Is he a big horse?
He's a big one.
Because Frankel and Dubawi, they're not very big. So I don't know how. I think the thoroughbreds in the US are a little bit bigger than the ones in the UK. That's something that I noticed. The UK horses the stallions are they're not very tall. They're 16 and a half hands. Gak terlalu tinggi. Tapi yang dari US, I noticed, yeah. But you, I don't know.
American Pharoah is, I think I would consider him as big. And that time he was also like, he was a stallion, so his body condition was also a little bit, higher, I guess, which is why he looks also big.
Have you seen racehorses in Indonesia?
In Indonesia, not in places other than Lombok.
Oh, no. You need to explore a little bit more then.
Yeah, that's what I wish to do. I actually want to go around Indonesia to see the horse industries, and also
you'll have to.
another. I haven't mentioned actually like my wish to Indonesia is in general, because I'm an Indonesian who had a chance to study abroad with scholarship, so I want that privilege also be felt by other Indonesian kids, especially those who from rural areas.
Yeah.
I believe that with education we can bring Indonesia forward.
Benar. Yeah, I agree. That's so true.
So I want to inspire. I like to inspire kids.
Yeah, you are. Clearly. I mean, you got all those followers, and I see your videos. It's so inspiring. Like, I never knew someone like you would have, existed in Indonesia. There's not a lot of us there, so we're like rare jewels. Seriously. Tapi Joe, okay, I'd like to talk about your speech. Your speech was incredibly inspiring, and I think it's deeply moving, and it really touched a lot of orang Indonesia, including myself. Like, I watched it and I was like, wow, this guy. Back then, when I watched your speech, I didn't know it was about equine science. I saw it on the reels. Is it last year? Sekarang udah 1 year.
Yeah, it was
1 year.
Yeah, I think it's exactly.
Anniversary since your the speech. Right?
Yeah, graduated in the.
Yeah, jadi kayak I watched your video and I was like, this is so cool. Yeah. And I saw it on the TV juga kalau nggak salah. Back then, yeah. Tapi I did not know you did it. It was on equine science. No one highlighted that fact, and I don't know why. No one said it was about equine science. Just said, it's like this Lombok guy from animal science. I was like, science again. How does someone learn horses? Yeah. I mean, now I know it's about horses.
They highlighted the fact that it was, saying anak pengembala or seorang pengembala, something like that. They didn't highlight the horse stuff.
How come you would have said those words in the speech? Like, what made you say those things? Because it was very moving and it's so inspiring. Like, did you say it like off the top of your head, or you already prepared it beforehand?
Well, I think it was because of the feeling that I had in that time, the emotion, the gratitude that I had in my mind.
I don't have any family here, but I have friends who are my family. They're back there. Thank you for providing your shoulders to cry on when I'm down. I know this is not a manly thing to cry, but I like to cry.
Initially, I tried to prepare some script, but then it was right before the ceremony. Then I was like typing, on the way there in the car. But then when I tried to look at it, read it, I thought that it was too formal and too, it sounds too kaku. And then
I don't think it sounds kaku though. You did really well in that speech.
Well, I mean,
it sounded so natural.
Like the script.
The script that you wrote.
The initial script. And the fact that I didn't have time to memorize it, I was just like, just close it. Okay, forget about it.
Yeah.
And Bismillah, I would just like go ahead with a fresh mind, basically. So with the emotion that I had, actually, there was some drama with a friend, like in the afternoon after the university graduation ceremony. Then he came to the graduation ceremony for the department. Then I was just gonna express my feeling, basically, my gratitude. I didn't expect that I would be that fluent, and I was actually afraid that in the middle of the speech I would have a lot of and something like that. But then it moved smoothly, and the fact that there was some emotional part of it, I was thankful though that I could actually hold my tears, so it didn't just drop in so that I didn't
I
have
mean,
to
you
do
looked
it.
like you were tearing in the video. I saw it, but I think you did it so well. You're such a natural, like, in on stage. I thought that was like, I was like, wow, how did he get all his words to flow so nicely? That's like really, really cool.
Because here's the thing, since 2015, you know, I went through a lot of struggles in English before I went to Australia.
Really?
Because my English was just like crap.
It doesn't sound like crap. No, it looks like you've been speaking for like more than 10 years.
No. So 2014, when I wanted to apply for a scholarship,
Uh-huh.
my TOEFL was only 437.
What's the TOEFL score right now?
TOEFL,
Like the
my TOEFL score right now?
like passing. What is it? I
Uh,
don't know what to compare it.
it should be minimum of 500.
Okay.
So it was like so far away from the minimum to apply.
Oh, wow.
So basically, I almost gave up.
Uh-huh.
What I did was like I bought like 3 TOEFL books. You know, I tried to went through it, to go through it. But then before I even finished those books, I visited my campus at UNRAM. And then I accompanied my friend to meet a supervisor. And then there was another professor in that room telling me actually an opportunity to have a 3-month IELTS training. So I applied for that.
So you did IELTS.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I got accepted on that at the same time by LPDP as well. So LPDP gave me 6 months IELTS training, and Australia World Scholarship also gave me a 3-month training.
Wow.
So in total of 9 months before I went to Australia, which is why I was like this, like so skinny because there's so much.
So you learn a whole new language in 9 months, basically. Itu keren sih. So wait, what's your IELTS at the end of the day then? What did you end up going to uni with?
Well,
Out of curiosity. Is it 7, 6?
yeah, when I came back from Australia, I had 7.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I used for
That's really,
for
really
Fulbright.
Yeah, you speak like a native,
Yeah.
honestly. Like you can.
But I think my English right now is a lot better than when I just came back from Australia. Yeah.
Yeah. Pasti sih. I mean, you were surrounded by. You said you you hang out a lot with orang, apa?
Yeah, with the locals.
Yeah, the US.
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
Most of them actually were undergrad.
Oh, undergrad.
Yeah, because like graduate students, they were all busy. Like you can't take their time. They're gonna be in the lab. They're gonna be, I have a meeting. I have a blah blah. I'm preparing for a conference. Okay, live your world.
No, but I think it's really cool that you can study the language so fast. Karena not a lot of orang Indo can speak that well, ya. And in class, kamu kan pasti banyak reading a lot of research papers, right? So it forces you to, have to understand
Yeah.
English. Soalnya kan, I think almost 100% of research papers rata-rata are in English,
Yeah.
kan?
And also about the Obama thing. So before I went to Australia, I started loving Obama in his speech. Even I memorized one of his speech. So the DNC 2004, I used to memorize the whole speech.
Wow.
Yeah, so 16-minute speech I memorized.
And you memorize it karena
And
just for practice public speaking, or?
yeah, because I watched it a lot of times. So I even impersonated it, and I made a video on YouTube.
Wow, interesting.
Scholarship to study in a magical place, America, that's shown as a beacon of freedom and opportunity to so many who would come.
Yeah, so in the beginning, so the vocabulary I used in my speech was actually influenced by that speech as well. So Obama was kind of introduced himself in the beginning. So he said, my father was a foreign student, born and raised in a small village in Kenya.
Yeah, I think I've seen that before. I can't believe you also memorize it. When I was younger, I had to memorize like the Gettysburg Address or Declaration of Independence because I did homeschool. Jadi kan banyak American schooling, so I had to memorize this. But that's crazy. You memorized a 16-minute speech. That's
Well, I didn't also realize that the way I speak, the way I do speech is always influenced by the way Obama does his speech. There would be like
you see.
First of all,
I'm a fan. No, maybe that's why I was like, oh, he speaks like someone I know that. I mean, now you're telling me.
the way he uses like repetition and stuff like that,
Yeah, and then like tilts his head, or he takes pausing in between.
Yeah.
But I think he's a very good public speaker though. You can speak in Bahasa, so please,
okay.
because you're like, because you know what, isn't for me as a Chindo, someone with like sipit eyes. It's sometimes people actually think that I'm an outsider because I'm not brown.
Yeah.
I would love to be brown actually. I look being tan, but I'm Asian. Yeah. So sometimes people think I'm like Japanese or Chinese. So they not saying that they disregard me, but yeah, I can get disregarded because they think I'm not Indonesian. But I'm like also like I'm patriotic.
You're a patriotic Indonesian. Okay, speak Indonesian.
But I'm just freaking Chinese. So like yeah, so that's kind of one reason why we like this being Bahasa. I wanted to ask you, jadi misalnya nih, there's a lot of Indonesian people, especially vet students atau even animal science students yang love horses. And maybe one day mereka juga mau seperti kayak kita berdua nih, kita belajar our S2, S1, and even S3 tentang equine science. What would you like to tell them? Like, is it worth it? Like, what's the outcome of it? Karena kan personally speaking from my experience, for me, aku belajar 100% tentang kuda. I think it's so useful and it's so needed and it's crucial untuk dunia kuda di Indonesia. Soalnya at the moment di dunia kuda Indonesia, human resources atau orang yang bekerja profesional dengan kuda, nomor orang itu sangat kecil banget versus nomor kuda yang populasi kuda yang kita yang sedang mau like exporting banget nih. So, what are your thoughts tentang ini, like, especially if they want to learn about horses?
Menurutku sih, seperti ya teman-teman pasti tahulah pentingnya education, pentingnya pendidikan. Tapi buat saya, pendidikan itu semestinya adalah sesuatu yang kita cintai. Menuntut ilmu adalah sesuatu yang harusnya kita ambil berkah di situ. Kita cintai, kita lakukan tidak karena output finansial yang nantinya kita akan dapatkan, tapi buat saya menuntut ilmu itu adalah karena memang kita cinta dengan ilmu. Tidak akan ada ilmu yang akan sia-sia tentunya, apalagi kalau kita merupakan pencinta kuda. Tentunya kalau misalnya kita ingin go for further education, insya Allah pastinya itu akan bermanfaat. Setiap hal yang akan kita lakukan, yang ingin kita dalami itu membutuhkan ilmu. Jangankan untuk merawat kuda atau dalam hal memelihara kuda, bagaimana kita mulai dari bangun sampai tidur lagi saja membutuhkan ilmu. So if you really think that you have passion on it, so go for it. Satu hal lagi, ya kadang-kadang orang berpikir bahwa masih ada orang lain yang akan belajar dan akan membuat perubahan. Tapi ubahlah cara berpikir itu. Ketika Anda diragukan karena berpikir ada orang lain, lihatlah ke diri Anda bahwa sebetulnya yang orang lain pikirkan, orang yang akan membuat perubahan itu tentunya adalah diri Anda sendiri.
Wow, it's very good. Thank you. That's really inspiring. Thank you for those words. Those are really good. Because I felt like kemarin I had a little presentations ke anak-anak IPB. Shout out to Charlotte. Thank you for inviting us kemarin ke Ditpol Satwa, and we just did a little bit of a session where kita encourage aja dokter hewan-hewan di Indonesia, terutama you love horses, it's worth it to give a try into the industry. Soalnya emang kita keperluan banget ya orang yang teredukasi dalam bidang kuda. It's very penting, jadi kita bisa learn how to raise awareness tentang kesejahteraan kuda, and also the care and raising the standards untuk semua kuda di Indonesia, karena kita kan punya banyak kuda. So that's something yang we just went through kemarin last week, and I think it echoes all what you said today here juga. So jadi fun fact guys, kan aku juga ke Hartpury University College in the UK, and my professors there yang teach me equine science, they always tell us every single year to watch the proceedings from the ICEP in Uppsala. So every year, so for 3-4 years, I would watch the proceedings, like, or some famous, or we get selected the papers that were released or presented, and then we get to watch it together as a class. And never did I knew that you, like probably I've seen your name somewhere there. Tapi kayak, ini mustahil orang Indo. Kan we don't think about that. Tapi I watched your video there and that was, you spoke very well tentang your paper. Tell us a little bit about your paper so you could show the audience what you did for your...
Well, I was thankful. It was actually, there was some hard time the beginning of the year in that time.
Really?
Well, I had to struggle with my progress. And there was also some personal issues. But then I kind of had an acceleration, basically, what do you call it, like compensatory progress. So I had that conference in Uppsala, and then just after that, I had a grant to do some research in Indonesia.
Wow.
To include in my paper. So it was a good thing. Being able to speak in Uppsala. Adiposity in equine industry has been one of the greatest concerns, particularly for us, the scientists. It was such an honor for me to attend a conference where also other equine academics also attended that.
Yeah.
So it was
It's so inspiring. Like I studied equine science, and obviously, I did my study on swimming racehorses, and also my other study, my master's was tentang equine industry di Indonesia. Tapi punya your research paper itu tentang adipose tissues.
Yeah.
Intinya like fatty tissue or like basically chubby horses, guys. Chubby horses and affect fatness in horses tentang
So
their performance, right?
Yeah, with the performance. And also, one of them is a survey as well. So one is a survey about how horse people actually perceive, horse judges actually perceive fatness, like adiposity.
Is it in showing horses and ponies? Showing
in showing horses.
Showing horses.
So, the audience were, the subjects were American horse judges.
Okay.
The result showed actually that they would see like fat horses as normal, so it becomes like
it becomes
so
biased.
It's fine.
Because it's super subjective. Yeah.
Meanwhile, researching a horse population, pony population in Kentucky Horse Park in a pony final.
Yeah.
Over there, it also showed that most of them are actually, at least 6. Their body condition score.
Like out of 10?
Yeah, out of 9.
Out of 9, sorry.
Yeah. Many of them are 7 and...
Dang, that's insane. They must be so thick. Like.
Yeah. And then...
But they think it's normal there.
They think it's normal.
But in the UK, ito juga another problem as well. Over-rugging horses.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. When actually they can just live outside and they're fine. But overfeeding, over-rugging, the horses get really chubby or they get really thick, and then it causes a lot of issues. Tapi di Indonesia ni beda ya guys. Di Indonesia kita nggak usah worry tentang itu, soalnya di Indonesia malah kebalikannya ya. Jadi Indonesia kita kurang kasih rumput ke kuda. Jadi ini nggak akan kasus di Indonesia. Tapi itu tadi kasusnya in the US ya.
In the US.
And in Australia itu studinya tentang adipose tissues as well.
No, in Australia my research is about vitamin K.
Vitamin K horses. Very interesting. Can we read your studies online? Bisa ya? Ada nggak in Google Scholar?
No. You can't find it. But there's you can download another study about vitamin K as well by another student who was doing her PhD at that time. So I think her research should be a lot more basically complete about vitamin K. But mine was just trying to look at the result of vitamin K supplementation on the mares, and then looking at the blood of the foals, whether they have like more vitamin K, whether you supplemented the mares, whether it result in more vitamin K in the blood of the foals.
Yeah.
But there isn't significant results actually. But even such effect of vitamin K for the horses actually is still questionable, and that's probably why the other student was studying that for a PhD. But basically, the basic idea of why vitamin K was that so vitamin K is its role is is that it acts as a cofactor
That's right.
of an open enzyme that that's involved in the carboxylation process of osteocalcin,
Yes.
so that calcium can attach
Yeah,
and
they
be
can bind,
put
yeah.
into the to the bone.
Cool.
And that's it.
Yeah. One of the questions I have for you is, so what do you think is the biggest difference between horses di Indo sama horses abroad? Karena kan you lived in the US
Yeah.
and Australia, you saw a lot of horses, kemudian banyak banget kuda and their situation, environment versus di
Yeah.
Lombok misalnya ya.
Yeah.
Lombok is Indonesia ya. For me kan aku tinggal di UK lama banget, horses versus
Yeah.
there di sini kan udah jelas banget condition of welfare satu
Yeah.
sama their environment is so different ya. Horses
Yeah.
di situ kan mereka dapat ad libitum forage,
Yeah.
mereka bisa makan rumput atau rumput kering
Yeah.
as much as they want.
Yeah.
And then mereka punya akses ke paddock banyak, jadi kudanya bisa jalan terus, and then the GI tract functions.
Yeah, yeah.
And then kita udah tahu kalau kudanya masuk di kandang 24 jam sehari, mereka lebih tinggi resiko untuk pokolik
Yeah.
nih. So from your experience, Jizun di US sama Australia, what's the biggest different thing that you see, like
Between
versus
Indonesia,
Indonesian horses and horses di luar?
Well, I think this is not far from what you said.
Yeah.
We put our horses here in the housings, and I had this conversation with the manager of the farm that I work. I had an internship at in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Asked him like, can you tell me what is actually the secret of racing like a good horse or a champion horse? He said there isn't any secret about feed, about even though it's also important, feed, exercise, and all those things. But the only thing that he wanted to emphasize is that if you want your horse to be a good horse,
Yeah.
then let the horse be the horse.
There you have it.
Let the
like
horse
that.
be a horse. Yeah.
It's gonna be
So-
natural. They gotta like live
Yeah.
outdoors. They
Yeah.
have to walk a lot. Kadang-kadang aku suka kadang-kadang kasih contoh ke orang Indonesia ya. If kita nonton kuda on Animal Planet or Nat Geo, like the wild horses, the Mustangs, the Przewalski horses in
Yeah,
Mongolia,
yeah.
we see them jalan terus, lari terus,
Betul,
cari rumput, cari plants. Jadi,
Yeah.
and they do it the whole day gitu. They only
Yeah.
sleep a couple hours. Mereka
Yeah.
tidurnya hanya beberapa jam, tapi
Yeah.
majority of your time
Yeah.
untuk menjadi natural horse, like what the guy
Yeah.
said dari Kentucky, is we have to make sure kudanya jalan banyak, dapat paddock time,
Yeah.
intinya di area luas sama makan rumput atau
Yeah.
cari rumput ya.
Yeah.
That's I agree with what
Yeah.
the guy said.
Even the problem that they have with the horses over there once they
Yeah.
have paddocks, because horses in the wild,
Yeah.
like
hard.
we have wild horses in America as well. Actually, they're actually feral horses, right?
Yeah, they are.
But the difference is that like the ones that they raise for racing and for breeding, they manage the land, they manage the paddock.
They do it really well, yeah.
Yeah.
Did all the rotation, paddock
Yeah,
rotation, and things
they
like
do,
that.
and then I love the way they, they for example, if the grass, becomes too long or
Yeah.
it grows so fast, they just mow it over and then
Wow. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, management. Yeah.
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 So that could prevent. There's a horse that used to have a laminitis issue. So that horse also, like, he tried to keep him away from like fresh, like spring grass, something like that. So, and also being in Kentucky in a breeding farm, it felt like, the reproduction class that I had at school. Here we go. This is where I see it.
Yeah.
Even though I wanted to do something related to racing, but even breeding was also.
Yeah, it'd be good to start with breeding di Indo. Soalnya I think a big problem yang kita ada di Indo adalah kita ngasal breeding ya, nggak mikirin conformation, nggak mikirin karakter, nggak mikirin badan, hanya kamu punya pejantan, aku punya betina, kita kawinin aja, dapat anak gitu, tanpa mikirin future-nya kudanya ya.
And also the recording.
Recording.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's,
database.
Yeah, database in America. If you know even any thoroughbred, if you know the sire and the mare, the dam, then you can trace
Yeah,
you know all the bloodlines.
keeping emang
Yeah.
banget sih di
Yeah.
US sama UK.
So that I think that is something that this perspective or potential to develop in Indonesia as well,
Yes,
to keep the breeding
banget. I mean,
pure.
ya, racingnya kan kuat di Indonesia. Kita juga ada question di mana Indonesia adalah importer terbesar di seluruh Asia of
Yeah.
horses dari Eropa ya. Mostly for show jumping, dressage atau
Yeah.
eventing. Tapi itu keren banget kalau kita udah tahu Indonesia emang import kuda sebanyak itu. We beat China misalnya nih last year. Artinya potential for industri kuda emang besar banget ya di Indo.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really positive thing to look out for. And I it just shows the warm reception, aka like how people perceive horses as something that's really interesting and fun, and paling ya we need more working professionals sih, itu udah pasti. Like people like yourself or myself or who want to dedicate their lives to help the horses here in Indonesia. So I think that's really cool. So it ties down to my last question for you today. So what's your message to the orang-orang Indonesia yang kerja dengan kuda? Like, what is there anything you like to say or like tell them about horses or horse care? Karena kan obviously this channel ini is mainly based about raising awareness tentang kesejahteraan hewan kuda di Indonesia. Any things you'd like to say for them?
Oke, buat teman-teman pecinta kuda di luar sana, pesan saya yaitu give 100% of yours to the horses if you really love them. Berilah 100% keseriusan kalian kepada mereka. Jadikan mereka companion, your companion. Jadikan mereka temanmu, bukan hewan budak. Cintailah mereka. Kemudian tentang equine welfare juga harus kita perhatikan. Barangkali saya menyarankan teman-teman semua untuk kalau beri pakan, lakukanlah itu dengan ilmu. Kalau ilmunya belum ada, cari konsultan, cari nutrisionis, cari vet dan seterusnya, supaya kudanya barangkali tidak overfed atau underfed gitu. In the end, saya ingin bilang, berikan kesempatan pada kuda itu untuk menjadi kuda sejatinya. Jadi jangan menjauhkan kuda itu dari fitrah mereka sendiri. Barangkali itu mudah-mudahan kuda-kuda Indonesia semakin sejahtera.
Wow, that's amazing. Love that.
Thank
You hear that, guys? Let horses be horses. If they're out, seharusnya mereka lari di paddock, mereka jalan semaunya, like as much as they want. Let them be horses. I love that. Ini dari stable manager ya? Lexington. Gotta remember that, guys. Catch that. That's very nice. I'm so glad orang Indonesia dapat mendengar sisi story-nya Jisun from how he was young and then going through the ages where he did his PhD and Master's in Equine Science. Semoga kita semua terinspirasi dengan cerita Jisun. I am Saskia Binge and this is Ahamun Jizun. Terima kasih udah telah nonton video kami di eri.co.id. In the future kita juga akan ada more videos tentang equine welfare sama other guests yang sangat experienced di bidang berkuda. So stay tuned.
And don't forget one thing. Please hit the like button, give
That's
some
right.
comments, and subscribe.
Yay! Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.